Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to Flamebait Talks. I, of course, am your host, Flamebait, or you can just call me Flame. Sorry that it has been a while since I have made a video. As you are all aware, and I believe I've actually said this before, but life happens, and I've been very busy at work and busy with a couple other things, personal, that have really affected my ability to get on here and make videos. So for all of my fans and for all of the people that have subscribed and are following me on Instagram and Twitter, I do apologize for that, and I will be trying to make amends. Today, I think I would like to talk to you all about finding happiness. I know that seems like a very broad term, but it's something that everyone needs to do. You need to be able to find a little bit of joy in your life somehow. And that's the thing that I would like to talk about. So, a couple things that I suppose we should get into, of course, is social life, relationships, work, and personal life. I would like to start off with your work life. The number one thing that I would suggest to most people is find some place that you can be happy to work. Ideally, you would find your dream job, and I know that that's not always a practical thing to do. You have bills to pay, there's, tons of other things that you're more than likely doing, and all of that requires money, and waiting around for your dream job or a job that you could be super happy with is sometimes very hard to do because it might not be there at that moment. So the best thing that I could suggest in that scenario is to find a job that would, at the very least, you don't hate. One that you can go to and be like, you know what, this isn't that bad. Eventually, you might get to the point where you have a position open up or a new opportunity, and that could help lead you to your dream job. I know personally I have had jobs where I have absolutely hated, and I pretty much stayed there because, like I said, money, it's a requirement, especially if you're living out on your own. And there's no easy way to get it. So, just to throw it out there, I actually had a factory job for close to 2.5 years. I absolutely hated it. It was the single most mind-numbing, monotonous thing that I have ever done, and I will never go back. So, for me, finding things that I would like to do or that I could be happy doing was a good transition. That originally led me to bartending because I really like hosting parties and making sure that everyone is having a good time. That's just the kind of person that I am. So it made sense to try to turn that into a career because it is something that I like to do. So I became a bartender, and now I am an assistant general manager of a bar and restaurant. So, the opportunities are there, and you can eventually get to where you want to be. A couple other things that I would like to do, one of which I'm kind of doing on a personal level, is this right here, making YouTube videos. And it's not something that I would ever suggest that I want to make my profession. I don't think that I'm that good, and I don't think that'll ever be something that I will have the ability to do. But it is something that I like doing, and something that does make me feel good. And that's what this whole thing is about, finding happiness. The other thing, as far as job-related scenarios go, that I would absolutely love to do is writing. I really, really, really enjoy writing. It's something that I have enjoyed ever since I was a little kid, and stories come very easily for me, and that is something that I would love to do professionally. I do actually do some writing under a different pseudonym, which, because of the nature of some of those stories, I will refrain from sharing here. But if anyone really, really, really wants to know, you can send me a message on Instagram or Twitter, and I will answer your question there. If that was something that I was able to do, I don't even think that it's a money thing for me. I really would just love to see one or any of those stories that I have put so much time and effort and so much of myself into in print. I think that would be one of the coolest things ever, and that would really make me happy, and that would boost that happiness level up so high that I don't know what would happen. Moving away from the professional side of things and more towards the personal. Like I said, you have to find enjoyment in every little bit of life. Otherwise, you start to get down on yourself, especially if you're like me and you have clinical depression along with anxiety, and it's not fun, because when you don't have something to do and you don't have things that bring you enjoyment, then all of those little dark demons start popping up in your head, and it's not fun. So I think it is important to find enjoyment in everything that you're doing in your life. So from professional to personal, find some things that you like to do. Hobbies. Everyone needs a hobby. Even if it's just, playing video games. It's something that you enjoy doing. And if someone, shakes their head at you or is like, oh, well, you spend too much time playing video games, they don't get it, but you should at least try to explain, hey, yes, I might be playing a lot of video games, but this is something that brings me enjoyment, and it makes me feel better. I feel, for the most part, a lot of people will back off. You might get a couple diehards that still give you trouble, but in the end, if it makes you happy, that's really all you can ask for. For me, I do like video games. I like real-time strategy games, so I'm a big fan of things in the Total War series, and even though I am horrible at it, I really do like Hearts of Iron 4 and a couple other games that are like that. That makes me feel really good. It makes the thinking part of my brain like, yes, strategy. I must conquer, or I must defend, or something. And it makes me happy. Aside from that, I also really like history. Reading about it, experiencing it, watching documentaries. It's something that I got to do when I was little with my dad, and it was always something that I really enjoyed. So experiencing different things like that, going to the museum or reading a book about, some new historical thing that might have been found, that's really cool to me, and I can divulge a lot of time and get a lot of enjoyment out of that. Another thing that I like that I don't do as much as I wish I could, running. I do like physical activity, but probably the thing that makes me the happiest and gives me the most enjoyment is just going on a nice run. And it doesn't have to be like, oh, well, I need to do this many laps, or today I'm going to go this far. I just pick a direction and I run. And I run until I get tired, and then I stop, and then I may walk. But, it's just that movement, that feeling like, if there is some kind of problem, like, I'm faster than it, and I can do better than that. I also enjoy being out in nature, and it doesn't necessarily have to be anywhere specific, although I do have a deep love of the mountains. But just being out and hearing the world around me, just the wind in the trees, insects, a waterfall or a stream, all of that is extremely soothing, and just being in a natural environment can make me happy. And I would suggest to anyone that is watching this that you need to find something, that you can do in your personal time, in your personal life, that gives you enjoyment. Even if it's just something small, like origami. I had a friend in high school that was really good at origami, and it was something that they would do when they were having like a hard time. It let their brain work on something else, and they could figure out, different solutions to this problem, even if they couldn't figure out how to deal with the one that was bothering them. And they derived a great deal of enjoyment from that. So just remember, it doesn't have to be anything big. It can be something small, as long as it makes you happy. On the social side of things, this is a fairly broad one. It's the things that you enjoy with your friends, that you enjoy doing with your family and other people. For me, I would say that it's honestly just hanging out. I like being around people. I'm not great with new people, because that, needs a certain amount of trust that I don't hand out inherently to new people. But everyone that is in my close circle, like, even if they're just like, hey, you want to like hang out or go see a movie or something? Yes, I would love to. And even if I'm not super jazzed about what we're doing, I'm just happy to be around them. And that makes me feel good. I get to see my friends or my family, and that's the part that I really enjoy, even if it's something that they really like but I don't. Like my my husband really enjoys like horror games, and I absolutely hate horror games, but if they're like, hey, do you want to play this game with me because it has a co-op function, I'm like, yeah, sure. And it's not so much the game, it's just that I'm doing something with him, and that's the part that makes me happy. I would also say parties, because again, I always liked being a host, and having parties made me feel really good. And it's not something where it had to be like over the top, or I get wasted out of my little dog mind here. It's just, as long as I have good people that are around enjoying each other's company, and, making it clear that they're having a good time, making a lot of noise, and, oh, this food is great, or, oh, this drink that you made is awesome, and, oh, let me show you this, and, oh, YouTube and videos and games, and there's so much going on that there's really no time to think about anything bad or could be going wrong. And that's super, super awesome, and I derive a lot of enjoyment out of that. So the things that I might suggest to you in a social situation is, even if it's something that you personally might not get or 100% enjoy, but you know that someone else will, maybe give it a shot. Because, it's not always what you're doing that is the important part or the fun part. It's the person or the people that you're with. In the fourth thing, relationships. As those of you who have been here for a while know, I am in a polyamorous relationship. I have a husband and a boyfriend. And it works very well for us. I love both of them very deeply, and I can't really imagine my life without either of them. They bring so much joy into my life that I don't know where I would be without either of them. It's something that makes me incredibly sad to think about. If something ever happened to one of them, I would be devastated. So all of the time that we do spend together, and all of the fun things that we do together, those memories are with me every day. And whenever I'm feeling down, I can bring that up, and it makes me feel amazing, really. My thing would be to say, or my thing to tell you, find someone that makes you happy. I know that sounds like kind of a strange thing to say, and it might seem obvious, but it isn't always. It's not something that is apparent whether or not, this relationship might be good, but in the long run, is this person going to make you happy? And that's a hard question to ask yourself, but it's an important one. And I highly suggest that you find someone that makes you happy, and will continue to make you happy. Or, someone's, if you're like me. As I said, they both make me really happy, and I know they're going to continue to make me happy for a very long time, and I hope that that's literally the rest of our lives. I would also say the environment that you're in. Make sure that it is a place that you can be happy. Maybe that's surrounding yourself with family and living at home. If that's what makes you happy, as long as you're not hurting anyone, and as long as you and your family are okay, that's all you really need. If you're an extremely independent person, get out of there. Go find your own place and be happy just being you. If that is all you need, awesome. I wish I had that kind of ability to just be like, what? I'm okay with just me. So if you are like that, awesome. You do you, and go off. Be by yourself and enjoy things. If you're not, surround yourself with people that make you happy. Surround yourself with things that make you happy, and put yourself in an environment that makes you happy. that often means like your home life, as we were just talking about, but it might literally be the place. I lived in an apartment with my husband for a very long time, and the first one was absolutely miserable. We were there for much longer than I wanted to be. It was a tiny one-bedroom apartment. The kitchen was literally, I feel, as wide as what this screen is. It had fridge over here, and then you got cabinets like barely over here, and this was the area you had to walk in. And as someone that likes to entertain, that frustrated me to no end. I couldn't do that there. So I was miserable in that environment. And eventually we got a bigger, 2-bedroom apartment, and that was mind-blowing how much space it felt like. But, as we started growing and making plans, it was like, okay, this is starting to feel a little cramped again, because it's an apartment. Also, we had neighbors that, they were loud, and, the apartment building always kind of smelled. And it was a bunch of things that was like that. So then we moved to a townhouse where we have pretty much just 2 neighbors on either side of us. And it's a lot quieter, and it doesn't smell. But in this instance, we found out that HOAs are not always the greatest. And now that it's going to be 3 of us, and 2 dogs, and 2 ferrets, and some snacks, and also we're planning on having a little one here fairly soon, that's a lot of bodies to try to put in this little cookie cutter. So that ain't gonna happen. And we're currently looking for a much bigger place. And we're being a little bit picky, but, in the long run, we're gonna be there for hopefully a very long time. And we want it to be someplace where we all can be truly happy. And we have found a couple places where we were like, oh yes, this place. And, it's one of those things where we were either outbid or we were a little late putting an offer in, and we didn't get it. But, our ferret, or my ferret, I should say, the husband, is a firm believer that the universe does provide. And, I am starting to believe that myself, especially with how things have been going recently. I believe that there will be a house that is just perfect for us. And I'm content to wait for that. Because I know that once we get there, that will make me happy. And that will be an environment that makes me happy. The next thing that I would maybe suggest to people is yourself. You gotta be happy with who you are. That might be the single most difficult thing out of the entire list. It's not always an easy thing to do, especially if you have a bad self-image, like you don't like the way you look, or you don't like the way you act around people, or you might not even like the way you think, or the way that you are. From some of you that have watched some of my earlier videos, you know that there was a little bit of a struggle when I started coming to the realization that I was gay. And it took me a very long time to be okay with that. And now that's just a part of who I am. And I like who I am. I have joy knowing that I am a me that I can be okay with. I have a lot of things to be happy about. And I attribute that to the person that I am. I've come to terms with being gay. I've come to terms with being a furry. I have come to terms with polyamory and all of the wonderful things that has brought into my life. I, learned that I didn't have to be so hard on myself, that I was worth loving and worth caring about, and that a lot of the things that happened to me early on were completely unjustified and wrong, and it was never anything that was on me. And the person that I am is the best possible version of myself that I can be right now. And that is something that makes me happy. And the thing that I would ask you is to sit down and think about it. Ask yourself, if you're not feeling happy, try to figure out why you're not feeling happy. And then you need to try to make additions or subtractions to your life. Maybe you're happy with a lot of the things, but you're not happy with your job. Well, it might be like, you might think like, I have a lot to be thankful for, and I shouldn't complain about my job. Everyone hates their job. That's not entirely true. And you don't have to hate your job. That's something that you can change. And it might be a little hard, and it might be a little tight financially for a while, but that's something that you can change and you can be happy doing. Same thing with relationships or social situations. You might have someone in your life that has been there the whole time, but one day you realize, wow, they're actually a really toxic person, and I don't like myself when I'm around them, and I don't like how they make other people feel. And then you might have to ask yourself the hard question, is this person gonna make me happy? Is this person worthy of sticking around if they're not gonna make me happy? The things about yourself, is if something is bothering you about you, ask yourself if it's something that you can change. If for some reason it's not something you can change, the absolute best advice that I can give you is have a good sit down and come to terms with it. If there's something that you can't change and it is completely out of your control, then do your best to accept it and move on and try to find some way to get enjoyment out of it. The main thing that I want you all to remember is that you can find enjoyment in every part of your life. You just need to take the time to figure out how to do it and what will do it. But it is something that I highly suggest that each and every one of you do, because in the long run you will be a lot happier if you can find that, and if you can do that in every single aspect in your life. This has been kind of a little impromptu video. I'm not really sure what had me thinking about it, but it's something that I wanted to talk to you all about. Just remember, that happiness is within arm's reach. You just have to grab it. Alright, so this has been Flamebait, as always. I have no idea when my next video will be. I would love to try to do a video about what it takes to get ready for a con, because here in a couple days myself, husband, and boyfriend will actually be heading off to Anthrocon over in Pittsburgh. Super excited about that because it's going to be my first really big con. And I would like to just do a quick little video to show, hey, this is what I think people should do to get ready for a con. So I might be doing that, but I'm not 100% sure yet. It kind of depends on my time. It's a little short right now, which I'm still fighting with and trying to make videos when I can, but bear with me on that. Again, I want to thank everyone for their patience, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. Next one will definitely be a little bit more scripted, and definitely not impromptu. As always, I want to thank each and every one of you for checking this out. I will see you next time, and I hope that you keep it sizzling. Bye!